Welcome to Tech Talks. Tonight, we are excited to have with us Mr. Sam Seavey, The Blind Life. Sam will be speaking on the latest and greatest devices and technology. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Sam. Sam was diagnosed at age 11 with Stargardt's, an early onset form of macular degeneration, and was legally blind by his mid-teens. Over the last 30 years, he has developed an extensive background in research and understanding of assistive devices and techniques of living with vision loss. Sam is the founder and creator of the Blind Life YouTube channel, which, according to a recent article from Foundation Fighting Blindness, is currently the largest resource for assistive technology on the internet. With more than 46,000 subscribers and over 700 informative videos, Sam helps people worldwide living with vision loss, offering tips for managing daily tasks, reviewing assistive devices, and hosting informative interviews with key stakeholders in the visually impaired community. Sam is recognized as an expert when speaking and presenting at national conferences, featured in USA Today, Wired Magazine, and numerous national and international podcasts on assistive technology. He collaborates with tech giants like Google, Sony, and Amazon. He has created content for maculardegeneration.net and participates on Microsoft's Windows Accessibility Advisory Board. Sam currently manages the AT program at a nonprofit where he provides training on assistive devices ranging from low-tech items like simple bump stocks and magnifiers to phone apps and assistive computer software. Whether he's working one-on-one with clients or through his YouTube videos, Sam's goal is to help everyone live their best blind lives. Before we move on to this evening's presentation, I would like to review our Tech Talk format for this evening. We ask that you hold your questions until Sam cues you. He'll let you know when he's ready for questions. When you ask your questions, please use the raise your hand feature. For those of you who dialed in, the raise your hand feature is *9. *6 will mute and unmute you, giving you the opportunity to ask your question. If you're on a computer, Alt-Y will raise your hand. The mute and unmute command is Alt-A. Using the Zoom app on the iPad, top right, select the More option on the top of the screen and flick down to raise hand. On the iPhone, this feature is located at the bottom of the screen on the right-hand side. And now I'm honored to introduce to you Sam Seavey. Take it away, Sam.
Well, thank you so much, Linda. It's times like this I realize that my bio was way too long. I need to shorten that up.
Oh, no, it's wonderful.
Well, you did a good job. You did a good job. I need to update it, though, because my channel just hit 50,000 subscribers this week.
Wow.
Which is a pretty cool milestone. I'm very proud of that.
Showing everybody how to crack those eggs.
That's right. That's right. So, well, first of all, thank you guys for having me back. This is, I think, my second time joining you guys over the years, and it's always seems to be a really fun group. As Linda said, I work in an assistive technology program at a nonprofit. So like a low vision center. Sounds very similar to what you guys do. So we have a peer support program, and we have meetings like this every single month. So I love these kind of things. In fact, today we had our holiday party. So I'm back from every year I have to play Santa and I hand out presents and stuff. So I'm just back from that. So I'm feeling pretty good. So you guys got me on a good night. But I figured I'd start out by just telling you a little bit about me, more than what was just in the bio there. And because people like to know, how I got to the point I am and all of that, and tell you a little bit about my vision story, as they say. So yes, I was diagnosed at age 11 with Stargardt's disease, which is juvenile form or early onset form of macular degeneration. It's an inherited retinal disease, and there may even be some in here that have Stargardt's, I'm not sure, but inherited retinal disease. So both parents were carriers of the recessive gene and came together and then passed it along to myself and my sister. I have an older sister and she has Stargardt's as well. So I always say we both won the low vision lottery and drew the genetic short straw, and we're lucky enough to be chosen. And sometimes I'll tell people that I just did a presentation in Philadelphia at a conference, and I told them that my sister was low vision as well. And I heard a lot of kind of from the crowd, oh, it's too bad. And you know what, though? It was actually good because she and I, at least we had each other growing up. We weren't alone in this. We were together, and we could keep each other, help each other stay strong throughout all of this, growing up with low vision. So it ended up being a good thing. And we have a much stronger relationship now because of it. But I was always using assistive technology, obviously, throughout my school years, middle school, high school, into college. And I've always loved technology, had a bunch of different jobs, random, normal jobs, like working in restaurants, things like that. I was actually a cake decorating instructor for a short time, teaching people how to decorate cakes. But I always kept coming back to technology. And then in 2013, or actually around 2010, I started making videos on YouTube for a technology channel called Mobile Tech Videos, making videos about mobile phones, cell phones, how to, doing reviews of phones and reviews of apps and that sort of thing. Nothing to do with low vision. And sorry, my watch keeps dinging if you guys can hear that. But during that time of making those videos, every now and then I would make a video about some accessible feature that I was using, make a video on how to make your text really big so it's easier to see on your phone, or things like that. And I got a lot of positive reactions to those videos from people in the community. And so people that a community on YouTube of visually impaired people, individuals that I didn't even know existed on YouTube. So based on those videos and the reaction I was getting, I decided to, I actually started out, I did a search for my own vision impairment on YouTube, searching for Stargardt's, and didn't really find much at the time. This was 2013. There wasn't really much information on YouTube about Stargardt's. So I thought, you know what, I should just start my own channel, because I can kind of share my knowledge of assistive technology. I can share my knowledge, my tips and tricks that I've learned living with low vision for so long, and just kind of share my journey. And so that's how I started my own channel. That was 2013. December of 2013 was my first video. It's grown like crazy ever since. It really took a very heavy technology focus back in about 2016 when I started working as an AT trainer at the Low Vision Center where I work now. Because suddenly I was surrounded by technology, really cool technology, and I was excited about all this stuff, and I wanted to share it with people in the community. So I started making videos about them. And it's become a very good resource. Well, at least people tell me anyways, a very good resource on the internet about information about assistive technology for the blind. I've been fortunate enough to work with just about every company out there to test and review and evaluate their products and share that with my audience. I make videos as a user and as a trainer. So all of my video reviews are 100% honest. If something is terrible, I'm going to let you guys know it's terrible, because that's really important to me. Being honest in my videos is very important to me. And, it helps the consumer out there make an informed decision of whether that's a good product for them or not. Like I said, just hit 50,000 subscribers. I have probably close to 750 videos. That's another is a quick tip on how to kind of be at the top of a top of the level in a certain area of YouTube, and that's just to oversaturate the market with videos. It's it's hard not to search for assistive technology and find one of my videos because I've made so many. So that is kind of my story up until this point. I still, as I said, I still work as an AT trainer. I work with clients every single day. Everything from low tech stuff to high tech, cutting edge technology. I go to all the conferences every year. I'm already scheduled to do 3 conferences in January, February, and March, and just try to stay up on top of everything. So that's what I'm here to talk to you guys about. I'm happy to talk about anything. I can stick with a certain topic. I know Elsa had asked me to talk about accessible phones, and I've got my blind shell phone here. It's turned on, ready to go. I'm happy to talk about that and answer any questions, give an overview of this and answer any questions that you guys might have. I kind of threw out the idea of maybe talking about future technology, what's coming down the pipeline, so to speak, what some companies are working on right now that might be coming in the very near future. Some kind of crazy futuristic stuff is coming in the near future, and we could talk about that. You guys just let me know, or if you have specific questions, I'm happy to do that. I really like the conversation style.
And we have a question.
Okay.
Ashley.
Hello. Hopefully you can hear me from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Since you asked what we wanted to hear, I just had a quick comment and question. By the way, I don't have Stargardt's, but I've been visually impaired all my life. So yeah, I think technology is great. It's opened up a lot of doors to me. And we don't have to carry around those bulky like Braille books anymore because you can put them on like a Braille note taker compact.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. Anyway, yeah. So thanks for coming. I'm definitely interested in phones. I guess I was wondering 2 things. If you could address what sort of lower tech phones are out there that you found accessible, like there are a number of flip phones, for example, that I've heard out there, like the Kyocera flip phones, for example, that might have, I think, has some accessibility, and they have the screen reader talk back in them, I've heard. So I was wondering about that. And also my other question was, if you have time to share your opinion on, like, I don't know if you read Braille, but if you do, what Braille display you currently like, because I'm kind of on the fence between a humanware display and the Braille, whatever, I forgot what its name is called, but the Braille display from HIMS Incorporated. So anyway, those are my questions there. So thank you for
sure. Yeah, well, sure, absolutely. Well, congratulations on being visually impaired. I commend you on that. And yeah, so for low kind of I guess they would call them dumb phones, right? Smartphones, and then the older stuff is they call them dumb phones, which is not the nicest name, but flip phones, the older school style phones. There are a few. LG, I've heard there's an LG flip phone that has some type of screen reader. It's more just it reads out certain menus or reads out loud the incoming call. The problem with it, the Jitterbug is another one that has some accessibility. The problem with those is that they're not fully accessible. So some things are accessible, but some areas of the phone are not. And that's the problem that a lot of people run into, is when they get into those areas, they're kind of lost. They don't know what to do. There was a phone that came out a while ago called the Smart Vision, and it was an older style phone. It had the buttons, physical keypad. It did have a touch screen, and it was actually running Android. the smartphone operating system, but it was relatively accessible, especially having physical buttons. The problem was that once you got out of the accessible area and you got into Android, people were lost. They couldn't do anything because Android by itself wasn't accessible. And it could have been if you went in and set up all the accessibility that Android has. Android has some great accessibility, but these users weren't doing that. And so they kind of got lost in there. And so because of that, the Smart Vision, it actually isn't available in the US anymore. That it just did so bad and so many people returned it that they stopped selling it. So that's the problem when you run into some of these phones that they threw in a little bit of accessibility. They work kind of, but you're going to get stuck at some point. That's kind of where some of these phones like the Blind Shell, there's another one called Mini Vision. These companies took that idea of the older style phone with the physical keypad, and I don't know if our low vision users might be able to see it in my hand here. Physical keypad, not a touch screen, but they built it from the ground up with vision loss or vision impairment in mind. So it was designed by blind people, made for blind people. Turn it in here, turn it on here. 7. You guys can hear it. It
2. 3 new notifications. Call. 1 messages. 2 contacts. Applications.
So
4 of 7.
100% of the phone has a screen reader. A screen reader, 100% of the phone. There is nowhere on this phone that you can get that isn't read out loud to you if you need a screen reader. For low vision users, it's large print, high contrast. Color schemes, different color schemes. So right now I have it on the inverted, which is the white text on the black background. It's got like yellow on black, blue and white. It's got several different color options you can choose. And but it's still running Android. Actually, it's still Android underneath, but it's completely designed to be easy to use and fully accessible. So this even has a built-in browser, so you can go on like Facebook or whatever you want on here, but even the browser is fully accessible. The screen reader works everywhere, even in the browser. The Blind Shell team really did a great job on this phone. And it has a ton of different features, so you can use it as much as you want or as little as you want. It's got an FM radio, music player, book player, camera. It's got GPS, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. It's got all the modern features. I can even tell it to call mom, and it will call the mom for me. I can send a text message with my voice. So everything you can do with a smartphone, but an easy to use physical keypad, easy to use and easy to understand phone. So Blind Shell is usually the one I recommend. As I said, there's another one called Mini Vision, and it's very similar, but it doesn't have nearly all the features that Blind Shell does. So this is the one we recommend in my office generally. If somebody, for whatever reason, doesn't want a smartphone, can't use a smartphone, but still needs a very accessible, reliable phone, we always recommend Blind Shell. Oh, and then to answer your other question, I am not a Braille user, but I can say that I've had a lot of great experience with HIMS. Those guys are fantastic. I've worked with them several times. I see them at conferences all the time. Super nice guys. So if you were kind of deciding between the two, just for the company's sake, I would lean more towards HIMS rather than HumanWare. HumanWare is fine, but I just like HIMS.
Oh,
All right, thank
thanks. Does Mini Vision, I've heard good things about it, but I didn't think Mini Vision works on Verizon. Do you know if it does? Because I ran into the same problem you just described. I have a simple phone because I don't really like bells and whistles. I just want to call and text people. But yeah, it's just easier on my brain because I have a brain injury. But too, I could not get TalkBack to read some of the sub menus. But anyway, back to my question. I don't know if Mini Vision or Blind Shell Classic run on Android. So thanks.
Yeah. So as far as the carrier, these are all GSM unlocked phones, which means GSM, the main carriers for GSM is T-Mobile, AT&T. T-Mobile definitely works on Blind Shell and Mini Vision. In fact, Mini Vision, I think, comes with a free month of Mint Mobile, which is what is running on T-Mobile. And but you can, I believe you can also use AT&T on these two phones. Here's the thing about Verizon. Verizon used to be a different type of technology called CDMA. And that's why you had the two technologies and your phone either worked on one or the other. But now, I think in the last 2 years, Verizon has switched to being also GSM. So I think everybody's on GSM network now. So there's a chance that it might work. There's just some settings that might have to be changed, but I don't know for sure. That would be a question for the distributors that sell the phone, if it would work or not. But there's a good chance it would.
Ashley, for God's sake, just stop.
Thank you. Thank you, Ashley, for those questions. And we have, Sam, I have a line. People are standing in line waiting to ask questions.
Okay, yeah,
So,
sure.
and people who are standing in line with your hands raised, please be patient. We'll get to you. Next up, we have Jason. So Jason, please unmute yourself. Hi, Jason.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hi there.
Yes.
Do you have on your channel? Do you have any videos on L Brailer?
No, I don't. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, on how to use the L Brailer, or
I don't know. I don't have any tutorials on brailers. I have several videos where I will feature one at a conference, just kind of showing what's available, but none really getting too in depth. I don't work with, most of my clientele are low vision. We don't work with a lot of Braille where I work, so I'm just not exposed to it as much as actually I would like to feature more on my channel. I just don't have the opportunity too much.
Yes. And do you know what company it is that what is it that sells the L Brailer? The one that I bought it from?
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
I know it's from another country, but because I want to know where to get a tutorial on it and how to use it.
Yeah.
Well, we could do a little research on that at a future time, Jason. Could be a good topic too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, please. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Aaron.
Speaking of accessibility phones, Greg, by the way, I love your channel, Sam. You do a good job.
Oh, thank you.
I want to ask you, what was your reaction when Apple removed the home button, like from the iPhone 10? And like, do you use any of the home buttonless iPhones? Home buttonless iPhones.
Yeah, I miss the home button like I miss some relatives, I wish they had never gotten rid of it. I mean, I'm used to it now. When they first announced that they were going to be, the next generation was not going to have a home button, I actually made a whole video about kind of like my reaction of how is this going to work? The home button is such an integral part of voiceover. How are you going to make it work? How am I even going to turn on voiceover without the home button, but they made it work and they figured it all out. And now we're all kind of used to it, I guess. But I still like my iPad. I have the old 2020, I think, iPad Pro 12-inch, and it has the home button. And I just love the home button. I wish they would bring it back.
I just don't like Face ID because it's so hard to use.
Yes, I will say, so I made a video called titled "Why I Hate Face ID," and but I was using it on my iPhone 10, in 10 or iPhone X is what they were calling it, but it's really the 10, the big one, Pro Max or whatever, and it was terrible. It was horrible. And then I upgraded to the 12 Pro Max is what I'm using now, and the Face ID works much better. It's, I don't know, they must have fixed it. Maybe it's a better camera, I guess, but it works much better. So maybe apparently on the newer devices, they've improved it.
Yeah,
Thanks,
I heard yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, I agree with you though. The fingerprint was so much easier than Face ID.
I miss my Touch ID so much.
Oh yeah,
Well,
I'm with you.
we have another, this is our another question. Doug, you are up.
Yes, you hearing me okay?
Yes,
We
sir.
are. Hello,
Okay.
Doug.
I have a 12.9 iPad and a rather large screen on my PC,
Mm-hmm.
and using vert colors and magnification, and with large magnification I can see pretty well. But a lot of things that I need, like in a brokerage firm, trying to ladder CDs and CDs all a spreadsheet format, and if I make the screen large enough to see it, then it's difficult to get around and see where I am. And if I use VoiceOver, I really get lost. Do you have any hints for working on a spreadsheet?
So, yes, I know exactly what you mean. I use spreadsheets at work, and here at the home, you talk about having a large monitor. Here at my house, my monitor, which is right here to my left, is a 43-inch 4K monitor. It's huge, and I love it. I love it to death. But so when I'm using a spreadsheet, I will do the global adjustment, or excuse me, local adjustment on the spreadsheet, which is making the spreadsheet itself larger by holding down control and using the mouse wheel to zoom the spreadsheet itself bigger. Not using like Windows Magnifier or anything like that, just the spreadsheet. So I'll make that as big as I can, where all the content that I'm looking at is on the screen, completely zoomed out, and just make it as big as I can. And then I still need to zoom in with Windows Magnifier, which is what I use. And I use Windows Magnifier at about 600 to 900%. That's how strong, that's how big I make it. The only trick that I've found that works really well for me is to use the arrows on the keyboard, because the Windows and set up Windows Magnifier to follow keyboard commands, so that when I arrow down, the Windows Magnifier follows it down the spreadsheet. Or if I need to go over, I'll just arrow over really quick and Windows Magnifier will follow it. That helps. It's still, for me, it's still a lot of zooming out to kind of get my bearings and zooming back in again. You can do the whole, I think it's Windows spacebar, to do the zoom out real quick and zoom back in. I do that sometimes too, but using the arrow keys to kind of follow focus on the spreadsheet, and Windows Magnifier follows that around. That does help. It is kind of jarring jumping around, but once you get used to it, it does help. But like I said, that's really the only thing I've found to help with that problem.
Well, I bought some things I didn't intend to buy, but okay. But thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Do we have any other questions, or should Sam go on?
Go on.
Okay, go on, Sam.
All right, sure. So let's talk a little bit about future technology. And then also, you guys, when I'm talking about this, you guys be thinking about, I have a lot of my videos are tips and tricks videos. And as they were saying at the beginning, even things like how to crack an egg, with vision impairment, how to find something you drop easily. things like that. I've got tons of videos about that, all aspects of home life and traveling, so if you guys have any questions about that kind of stuff, I'm happy to talk about that. But regarding future tech, there's some really cool stuff coming down the line. As far as helping with total blindness, there's a lot of companies, several companies anyways, are working on full bionic eye. It's like full, take the eyeball out, pop in a robot eyeball, and all of a sudden you can see. It's not quite that futuristic, but kind of heading that way. There's a company in China that's working on a replacement eyeball, and it's the electronics and everything will connect to your optic nerve, and so this will only be for someone that has damage in the eye that's causing the blindness. If the damage is with the optic nerve or something in the brain, this won't fix that, obviously. But it's kind of interesting. It's very Total Recall or one of these types of things, having a robotic eyeball. And with this, of course, they're going to be able to give you all kinds of different vision, apparently, like distance vision, telescopic vision, or microscopic vision, or night vision. I mean, really, honestly, they could do all kinds of things. So that's kind of cool. Obviously, that will still be several, maybe even decades away. But for something a little bit simpler to help with low vision, there's several companies that are working on smart contact lenses. So there's a company in California called Mojo Vision, that's working on smart lenses, contact lenses. So it's a contact lens that will go into your eye, just like a traditional contact lens. If you need some kind of correction for astigmatism or something like that, it will do that. It will correct that astigmatism. But it also has a tiny little display, a tiny little battery, tiny little sensors, very, very tiny. And so it basically does AR, augmented reality. So you will be able to see your world, your environment, just like normal, but it will augment that. Some of the things that it will be able to do is to put a high contrast edge onto items. So if you've ever seen any smart glasses that do this, or if you have a video magnifier that, a doorway, it'll put a nice bright contrasting color edge outline on the edge of the doorway. So the glasses will be able to do that, so if you're walking along and you're coming up to a curb, you'll be able to see that curb. With low vision, you'll be able to see that curb a lot easier. It'll stand out more, or stairs, things like that. In the presentation I saw, they did talk about magnification. So, you'll be able to zoom in, make things bigger with the contact lens. Changing colors, so color filters, just like a digital video magnifier does. So kind of crazy stuff right there too. They're also looking at doing some different different contacts for non-visually impaired people. So like sports contacts, or shopping, that kind of stuff. Probably the coolest ones, though, that I've seen, I mean, the bionic eyeball is pretty cool, but probably the coolest that I've seen so far are the robot guide dogs that they are working on. I know. Robot guide dogs, there's some companies, there's a couple in Israel. There's a lot of huge tech startups in Israel for some reason. I'm not sure why, but there's a Chinese company that's working on robot guide dogs. But it's not exactly... Whenever you hear robot guide dogs, you kind of picture an actual robot dog. It's not really like that. The ones that they're working on look more like tiny little buggies, or there's one, Seamless Vision. There's a company called Seamless Vision. They're working on one. It kind of looks like a little lawnmower. It's about the size of a small lawnmower, very, not that bulky, but something you push, and you hold onto the handle, and it propels itself. You don't push it; it propels itself, and you kind of hang on. And the wheels kind of look like the wheels on a tank, so they're treaded, or even like the Mars rover has those multi-level wheels so that it can go over rocks and stuff. Well, this kind of has similar wheels, so it can go up and down stairs. But I saw a presentation and I had a chance to interview one of the developers, and they talked about how it's going to have all kinds of sensors and so LiDAR and radar and all these types of sensors, cameras everywhere. They showed a video of what this thing sees as it's going down the street, and it was really cool because it was mapping out everything in real time and categorizing everything. So as it was walking down the sidewalk, all the trees and all the bushes, it had them colored in green because they were plants. All the cars were all red. All the people walking around were all yellow. So it instantly could categorize and identify these items as it was walking along, rolling along, I guess. But I did ask them, well, of course, being a reviewer, I have to look at all the pros and the cons. So I said, the thing about an actual guide dog is, number one, there's a companion side to it. You've got a companion with you, and there's that lovingness and all of that. When it's not a working dog, it's a pet. And so, how are you going to replace that? And then I said, the other thing is, a guide dog, there's something called, what is it? Something disobedience.
Intelligent disobedience.
Intelligent disobedience, yes.
Mhm.
If you are walking along and you're trying to walk out into traffic and a dog sees something coming, they're going to stop. Even if you give the command to go, they're going to stop because they're, number one, they've been trained to do that. But number two, they don't want to get hit by a car. So they have some type of self-preservation. So I was like, a dog isn't going to lead somebody off the edge of a cliff, but a robot, robot's not going to care. And he assured me that it's going to have all kinds of safety precautions and redundancies in case one of the safety things fails. So I don't know, but still, it was really, really kind of cool. It definitely seems like the future. You figure that in the future, everybody's going to have a personal robot walking around with them. And maybe this is where it all begins with robot guide dogs.
I don't know. I can't see that.
I know. It was really interesting. Interesting stuff coming out of the future. All right. Do you guys have any more questions?
Yes, we have a question. 9298, if you can please ask your question. Last four digits, 9298.
Hi, excuse me. I was wondering, do you know of a particular site, a YouTube maybe channel or something that deals with total blindness? Because a lot of things that you find on these things are all related to visual loss, but I've been totally blind all my life, so a lot of the things that I run across don't really apply to me.
Yeah, and that's mainly because in the spectrum of vision loss, there's so many people. There's much more people falling on the low vision side of the spectrum than the total blindness. But there are some great, some of the companies that make the Braille products, American Printing House, HIMS, Humanware, they will have great content on their channels.
Well, I use audio mostly, and I use JAWS, and I use Freedom. But when I'm talking about this new technology, more of the new technology that's coming in is a little bit more difficult without sight, totally without sight, especially since some people who are losing their sight have already used this equipment, but now they have to learn how to use it with voiceover. So I'm talking about the new technology, but maybe if there's a YouTube channel where there's people who are totally blind who might be able to explain it.
There are, yeah, they're just they're smaller channels. I don't know of any like larger channels that consistently put out stuff. Well, actually, I'm actually tomorrow I'm doing a something very similar to this with a company called Vision Forward, based out of Milwaukee, I believe, and not Milwaukee, somewhere up there. But they have a YouTube channel called In Focus, and they cover one of the guys, Corey. He's totally blind. Luke is not visually impaired at all, and you know we tease him about it, but it's okay. We let him hang out with us anyways. But they do a lot of they have a much wider range because Corey is totally blind. He talks a lot of his experience with stuff too, so you might check them out. In Focus is the name of their YouTube channel. Yeah.
Channel. Okay. Well, thank you.
Vision Forward is the company, and In Focus is their channel.
Okay,
But
we have 2 questions, 2 hand raises, and a question in the chat, and I'll look at that. Well, Jason, why don't you ask your question? Jason?
Okay, can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, you're talking about how far have they gone with those driverless cars?
pretty far. I mean, some areas of the country you can call a taxi and a driverless car will come pick you up. Down in Florida, I know they've got them. My father-in-law, who lives in the Villages down in Florida, he rode in one recently. So they're pretty good. In other countries like Japan, they have a lot of their public transportation, some of their public transportation, especially in smaller I don't know, villages, I guess they call them there. They have driverless like buses that'll come and pick people up and carry them where they need to go. So it's coming along. I think the regulations are working themselves out. I know, like, I don't know if it's NFB or ACB, one of them is working on legislation to where eventually you won't need a license to own a driverless car and ride in a driverless car. So, which is going to be great for us. Yeah. So, I mean, they're saying within 10 years, they could be pretty common.
Good.
I got my fingers crossed.
Do you have any videos on that? Do you have any videos on showing us what one of those is?
No, no, mainly because I don't have any near me. I live in central Kentucky. Not too many driverless cars here, other than Teslas. There's Teslas every now and then, but no, I need to. I'm going out to LA in the next couple of months. I've got a couple trips out there, so I need to try and arrange something. When I'm out there, just don't have access to them. I've got several videos where we talk about it, in like a setting like this, but that's about it.
Okay. Good.
All right, thank you, Jason. On to the next question, John.
Oh, thanks. Hey, Sam, I had a question for you on walking around in GPS software recommendations that you might have. So I have a guide dog, not a robotic one, a real live one.
Not yet, anyway.
And not yet, anyway. Although it was funny as you were describing it, I was thinking, my dog is so good at avoiding all the little stuff. I'm sure these, the robotic ones would blast right over big bumps and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But I don't even know they're there. That's what dog's so good at. I don't bump or nick anything. But that's off. But as we're walking around, I use Microsoft Soundscape all the time in the neighborhood because I know the neighborhood really well. And so even if you're not paying attention, you suddenly end up somewhere. It's so good at saying where you are, what direction you're going, and say, okay, great. So I never get lost. That's good. Where the question is for you is if you then try to combine that with a mapping function of, okay, I want to go over to somebody's house, maybe on the other side of town, or go into town and go to one of the shops and that kind of stuff. Then it becomes more more interesting. And I've tried a couple different things. I tried WeWalk, and I liked it to an extent, but where it was the intersection, especially at the intersections where Soundscape is so good at telling you, hey, you're coming to the intersection with Post Street. Post Street goes left, your street goes forward, Post Street goes right. You're like, okay, I know the whole setup. You're getting ready for the intersection. And you know what the shape of the intersection is. The mapping guys that I've seen in general aren't as good. They'll get you A to B, but the intersections kind of come out of the equation. So I keep Soundscape on in the background, and it's a lot of noise going on in your ear, but it works. So sorry, as I ramble forward, is there something on the mapping side that would combine the detail of a soundscape, so with intersections and such, or is that still to come, hopefully at some point?
Yeah, I'd say still to come in the future. I don't know of anything that works any better than the ones that you just mentioned. Unfortunately,
Okay, I don't know.
there's I'm assuming you're on an iPhone from what it sounds like.
I am. Yeah. I am. Yeah. Yep.
Because there's one on Android, Lazarillo, which isn't too bad, but yeah, WeWalk was what I was going to recommend. But then you mentioned that, so unfortunately, you might have to deal with the sounds for right now, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, WeWalk. I had it for a while. I used it. I like the o'clock kind of thing as opposed to, you're heading northwest, southeast, or something, and a lot of time you're like, man, I don't know whether I'm going
right.
It is southeast that Soundscape does. And that part's fine. Where I find like, you're going ahead at 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and like, that one I can understand generally. Now I understand completely, where I need to go on that side. But then it didn't get the intersections for me. Like, you're coming to the corner of this or that I find extraordinarily helpful. Now the guide dog stops, of course, but even then, as I get mentally ready for it, it's fine. You're at the corners, and it's so, what Soundscape is great. I mean, if it had a map function, it'd be like killer great. But I mean, right now it's invaluable as I walk around. It's sort of my security blanket. I don't know what I'd do without it, but okay, that's fine. I just want to make sure I wasn't missing anything, since you were exposed to more than any of us. That's for sure.
Yeah, there's some kind of cool ones. I mean, not really solving that problem, but there's an app called Clue that I was testing out. It's CLEW, so kind of like Chew, but Clue, CLEW. Apparently CLUE was taken, maybe, but they're actually, it's very similar to an older app called Breadcrumbs, which I don't think Breadcrumbs is around anymore. But Clue works really well for indoor, where if you say you're at a restaurant and you're sitting at a table and you have to go to the restroom, it kind of works like Soundscape, really, but it uses your camera and it maps out your route to wherever you're going, and then it sets waypoints as it goes, and anytime you like turn or get off, it'll set a waypoint. So coming back, it follows the waypoints. And what's nice is if you're coming back maybe, and there's like a server serving food at a table, and I got to go around, I can't go the same way I came. Once you get off that track, it will guide you back to the next waypoint to get you back on the track. And
nice.
It works really well. It actually works outside too. I tested it outside, and it works really well. It's really accurate to, very, very, because it uses the camera. It doesn't use GPS. It uses the camera. So if you're like, I was zigzagging through my house, and it's like, take 3 steps, take a slight left, 3 steps, take a slight right. I mean, it knows those very minute movements pretty well. Yeah, it's on iOS as well. There's several good maps which are based out of APH, which is only about an hour away from me. They do indoor mapping, where they go to a space and they use LiDAR to map the entire space, and then the app will walk you through there pretty easily. But that's more like airports and stadiums and things like that. But there's some interesting stuff. But yeah, there's still some holes that need to be taken care of as far as for navigation.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, John. I have a question in the chat from Kristen. She wants to go back to the smart lenses. Do you know, in regards to the contrast, does that mean that someone who is visually impaired wearing them will see their world inverted like black backgrounds with white text? And when will these lenses be available?
Yeah, from what now, I only saw a presentation that they did, and they just kind of showed some examples, and most of them were just still images, because this was 2 years ago, and they were still very much in the prototyping stage. So, but yeah, they showed inverted. So yeah, you would see it in kind of a negative reverse. And I imagine it works through a smartphone, probably. I can't imagine any other way it would work. So you probably just click it and it inverts, and I'm sure it's more for reading than, seeing, just everyday objects and stuff. But from what I understand, though, you can like boost contrast or boost saturation if that helps you see things better. It had a lot of different features like that.
Thank you.
Just one more question, sorry, about that. Sorry, I'm not able to do the raised hand feature. I'm having trouble finding it. But so my question would be, are the lenses connected then to like an app or something on your smartphone for the contrast to work?
That's how that's how I understood it. Yes, okay. That they would communicate with an app on the phone, and that's how you control, because they didn't really touch on that during the presentation, but I can't imagine how else would you change the different modes and stuff. It's got to be connected somehow to a smartphone or something like that.
Okay. Well, thank you for the information. I appreciate it.
Actually, and on that topic real quick, I did just earlier today, I read an article about another pair of smart lenses, because I couldn't remember the name of Mojo. So I was going back and trying to find it. And I saw another one where the lenses, contact lenses, they have small electrodes on the lens. This one is really bizarre. And it stimulates electrical stimulation on your cornea. So that is definitely connected to a phone, and because it said whatever your phone sees. So if you point it at a stop sign, then the electrodes will fire on the contact lens, and you will tactically feel the sensation on your eyeball. And apparently, I guess with training, with practice, you'll be able to identify those shapes and all of that. So essentially, you will be able to see what you're looking at just by feeling the electric shock on or like stimulation on your cornea. Very strange. That's also coming out of Israel.
Wow.
Yeah.
We have a comment. Inicio, do you want to unmute yourself and reply? Let us know your comment about good maps. Okay. So Inicio wanted to just mention that Good Maps Outdoors combines the excellent features of Soundscape and say Google Maps. And he says to give it a try. So he recommends it.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw it at CSUN last year, or earlier this year, I guess it was. And turns out their office is just down the road from me.
We'll give more questions too. Doug? Doug, you want to ask your question?
Yes. the iPad that I have is my fourth iPad, and it's been very troublesome. And I use Apple accessibility on a regular basis, more regular than I'd like to. And whenever I do, and they take control of so they can see my screen, they have a little itsy bitsy arrow, and they say, "Click right here," and I don't know where right here is. And every time I've talked to them, I've asked if they could please at least put a big finger up there or a blinking light or something, and they pass that on. I was wondering if you had any influence with Apple in the accessibility group, and maybe they, when they look at your screen, they could make that arrow big enough that a person that needs help can get some help.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I don't have as much influence as I wish I did, because I'd have some changes I would want made as well. But I'll definitely keep that in mind if the opportunity ever comes up to kind of give my 2 cents. I'll definitely pass that along. I can tell how frustrating that would be, though.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate all you've done.
Thank you.
And I have another question in the chat. Could you please tell me a good program to learn touch typing using a Bluetooth keyboard? And this individual, Suresh, he is totally blind.
So my favorite program is an old program, and it's what I learned how to touch type with. It's called typing. What is it called? Typing Tutor, Touch Typing Tutor. I'll have to kind of look it up. It's from a company called Eversoft, I believe is the name of it. Talking Typing Tutor. That's what it's called. Talking Typing Tutor. And it's a program. I had it on CD. It's so old. It's literally from the early 90s. But it's so great because everything is spoken out loud to you. So it's a full-blown typing teaching program. So they have lessons and they have games you can play and practices and things to improve your typing speed. The 2 hosts are very cheesy, and they try to make jokes and stuff, and it's a little cringy at times, but it's still a lot of fun. But that's what I learned on, and so that's what I recommend. Places like MaxiAids, LS&S, they can probably still get it. You may be able to find it on Amazon, I'm not sure. But Talking Typing Teacher or Talking Typing Tutor, gosh, I can't remember exactly. But that's what I would recommend. American Printing House for the Blind also has a free talking typing tutorial on their website that you can go and you can access it through a browser. I did a video on that also. And so that's good. It's not as robust, but it has the basics for learning to type, and it's from the American Printing House, so it's fully accessible. And because it's on a browser, you can access it from anything, any computer, any smartphone, whatever. So you could try that as well.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, so far everyone's asked their question. Sam, do you want to anything else for the future that you're going to hit us with here?
Well, so this month I'm doing a kind of a unique series on my channel. Over the years, I've gotten asked the question of what kind of jobs can blind people do? I've gotten that question asked so many times that my usual answer is that it's probably easier for me to tell you what jobs we can't do, because that's a much shorter list than what jobs we can do. I generally tell people that, well, what do you want to do? What are your skills? What are your interests? Figure out what you want to do, and then let's figure out a way to adapt it to work with your vision loss. But because I've gotten that question so many times, I decided to do a series called Working Blind, where I'm doing interviews, or I did interviews with people in the community to find out what they do for a living. and just to kind of hopefully inspire people about what types of things they could do, or maybe areas of employment they could look into. So I'm releasing those videos in December. I'm releasing them every other day. I've done 3 videos so far. I'm doing on even days, so another video will come out tomorrow. And the response has been really good so far. I've already recorded all the videos and edited and everything, so they're ready to go. And I've gotten some really good interviews, and I've got a lot of good response and people wanting to be on the series in the future. So we will probably do it again, maybe next year. Continue that series. So that's a good one you guys can check out right now on my YouTube channel.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
We have another question. Isabella.
Hi, yeah, so my name is Isabella and I'm from Minnesota, and I had a question about the Orcam My Eye.
Sure.
I've seen it, and I was wondering how is it possible for me to get an Orcam My Eye and have it read a print document if I were to get one?
So there's 2 versions of the Orcam. There's the My Eye and the Read. The Orcam My Eye, the Orcam Read. The My Eye, because a lot of people don't understand that there's 2 different types, and they're kind of different. They both do the same thing, but they're kind of different. And so one might be a better option for someone. The My Eye sits on a pair of glasses. It's about the size of a lipstick container or a flash drive, a little thumb drive. Sits on the side of a pair of glasses, and you control it by swiping, tapping, or you control it by gestures. So for reading a document, there's 2 different ways to do it. 2 main ways, I guess you could say. You can hold the document, at a comfortable distance, and you would point at the document, and the My Eye makes a beep sound. And when you take your finger away, it takes a picture of the document and then starts reading it. And that's Orcam is one of my favorite devices. It's super fast, super accurate. It does take a little bit of practice to get used to using it, especially if someone is totally blind or profoundly visually impaired. Sometimes they have a hard time knowing where their head is pointing. And so the Orcam is pointing in the same direction that your eyes are pointing, or your nose is pointing, actually, they say. So that takes a little bit of practice, but once you do, it's very accurate, very fast, and it would just start reading the document out loud to you. So that's one way. The other way is to simply tap the side of the device with your finger, and that will do the same thing. It'll make it take a picture and read the document out loud to you. If you point at it and leave your finger there after you hear the beep, it will take a picture and only read what your finger is pointing at. So this is great if if somebody does have a little bit of vision and they can see that there's like a block of text there on the page, but they can't read it. And they don't care about all the other text on the page. They can just point at that one block of text and it will just read that area. So that's the 2 main ways to read a document with the Orcam, the Orcam My Eye. The Read is kind of looks like a large magic marker, like a black magic marker, and you hold it in your hand and it has physical buttons. So you actually point it at the paper and push the button, and then it takes a picture, and after that it does exactly the same thing. Takes a picture, starts reading to you.
Because I am totally blind and I have optic dysplasia, so I'm trying to find ways to help me read print documents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's if you go on YouTube and you search for Orcam, there's a gentleman named Jose, who's down in Florida, Florida Institute for the Blind, maybe something like that, and he does a great demonstration of using his, and he's totally blind. I do training with people who are totally blind, and so like I said, it's definitely works for people that are totally blind, especially with a document you're holding in your hand or a book. It's just kind of takes a little practice to get to know where you're pointing your head and make sure you're pointing at the document. I sometimes will recommend the read instead because it's easier. I always train people to put the read flat onto the document, and then you pull your hand away about a foot and then snap the picture. And so for people that are totally blind, it's a little bit easier for them to orient that way, touching the document right in the middle and then just pulling back and taking a picture. So sometimes I'll recommend the read just for that reason. But with a little practice, yeah, it's definitely doable.
Thank you. Thank you, Isabella, for the question.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions at this time, or do we want to move on to another topic?
Linda, someone, Suresh in chat asked, does OrCam work better than seeing AI? Do you want to tackle him?
So it does work better than seeing AI as far as several reasons. There's several reasons why I recommend it over seeing AI. Now, not even talking about price, because seeing AI is free. OrCam costs like $2,500. So taking price out of it, price is usually my first concern when it comes to a device. I think your budget should be one of the first things you consider. But if we're taking price out of it, not including that at all, I recommend OrCam for a couple different reasons. OrCam is generally faster. It tends to be more accurate. It's also offline reading, which means it doesn't need to be connected to the internet to read something. So that's good for security. If if I scan a picture of or I scan my bank statement, I'm not concerned that information is going off to the cloud or something somewhere and someone else might be having access to that. It's stored right on the device and then it's forgotten immediately. The other thing is, seeing AI is great, especially because it's free, but it's kind of cumbersome. Like if I have my phone here, it's hard for some people to line up the camera with a document, or if you're reading a lot, it can get tiring holding the phone. One of the main reasons why I recommend a different device over seeing AI. Although where I work, we have these stands. They're called scan jigs, and it's just a plastic stand that somebody created where you can put your document on one part of it that's standing up, and then your phone sits on another part, and it puts it at the right distance and the right angle and all of that. And so it works great with seeing AI because you don't have to hold the phone. It's hands-free. So it works well with that. But OrCam, it's small, it's portable, it's convenient. You can wear it around your neck on a lanyard. The My Eye attaches to a pair of glasses, and then you can also pop it off. It's magnetic. It pops off and can also hang around your neck. So for a lot of those reasons, and it does a lot of the other same things that seeing AI does, as far as like product recognition, facial recognition, that kind of stuff. But that being said, if we do put price back into it, seeing AI wins hands down because it's free. You can't beat free.
It's free.
Yeah.
What about Ira?
Ira's great. So Ira used to be, I wasn't crazy about Ira because of the cost. It is kind of pricey. It's a subscription plan, basically like having another phone subscription. But the fact that they've added in a bunch of Ira hotspots, and you can also do, I forget exactly what it is, 20 minutes every 2 days for free or something like that. That makes it really, really nice. And then a lot of these airports and events, CVS, I think, is one of these places where you can go in and use Ira for free. It's great. As I said before, I do a lot of traveling and to conferences and stuff, and I always see people walking around with their phones up, talking to their phones, and I'm like, oh, they're using Ira.
It is costly per month, though.
Yeah, and it's just
another expense.
It is, and so it's one of those things you have to kind of look at the use case, and is it going to make sense for you? If you are someone that travels a lot, I think it's fantastic, helping you get through airports and all of that, and hotels and dealing with all that kind of stuff. Absolutely. But I know some people that they're like, I don't do anything. I sit at home all day, and I maybe go to work. So, they just didn't make sense to have that expense when they weren't using it.
Thank
Plus,
you.
there's Be My Eyes. Be My Eyes works. Not nearly as good, obviously, but it can do, and it's free.
Sure. Anyone else have any questions or comments? Any other topics?
Open book. Happy to talk about anything.
Well, Elsa and I, often use your YouTube channel when we're teaching, or we have a class called Back to Basics. And we'll go through all of your YouTube. Our favorite is Cracking the Egg. You just can't beat that one.
Yeah, it's one of those things. A lot of my videos is just stuff that I kind of organically came up with, and thought,
Very helpful.
It's one of those things where actually a funny story kind of along that same line is I was having a conversation with my boss. My boss has Stargardt's also, and she's even more visually impaired than I am. And we were talking one day about brushing our teeth. I don't know why. It's one of those office conversations. These things just kind of come out of nowhere. And she was telling me how she does it, and I said, yeah, that's how I do it too. And then I'm like, I wonder if did every blind person do this? Because nobody taught me how to do it. I just figured it out. And so I was like, maybe I'll make a video, because I needed a video idea for that week. But then I thought, nobody's going to care about this. It's a dumb idea. It's a dumb video. Nobody's going to care about it. And so I made the video on how blind people brush their teeth. And the way that I do it, and maybe many of you guys do as well, is because I've had people say, well, if you can't see the toothbrush, how do you squeeze the toothpaste onto the toothbrush? And I said, well, you don't. You just squeeze it right into your mouth, and then you start brushing your teeth. You don't put it on the toothpaste or toothbrush. And I made that video thinking that nobody would care about it, and all of a sudden it like got really popular. I still have people mention that, how I had one person say, oh, your toothpaste video saved my life and saved my marriage and all this stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, and so sometimes it's those little videos that I think are dumb that actually resonate with the community, wow, and end up being pretty popular. So
they're really helpful to people who are new to vision loss.
Yeah. So it's kind of like that with the cracking the egg one.
Any other questions, or Sam, is there anything else you want to cover?
I don't know. Like I said, I'm happy to talk about mobility stuff. We've got some cool new canes. I'm testing out
some more time. You want to talk about some canes?
Yeah. So I'm actually testing out. It's around here somewhere. I'm testing out a new light up cane. It's called the Seavey cane, and it's from a gentleman named Kelvin out of I think he's in Arizona somewhere, but he created a fully light up cane. So the entire cane shaft lights up with LEDs inside, and it's pretty cool. It's still prototype stage. I think he's going to start selling them soon. It's got a little problems that I when I was doing my evaluation, I told him about, and he agreed with me, and he knows about them and things that he needs to change. But it's got good bones, I guess, as they would say. Could turn into something really cool. But the nice thing is it's very highly visible. So if you're walking around at night or in low light situations, there's no problem someone seeing you, like if you're walking on a sidewalk and cars and bikers and stuff, they're definitely going to see you, which is great. And it's pretty cool. It even has a little mechanism where, you know, there's a switch to turn it on and off. And then there's a button that if you press the button when the light is off, the button doesn't do anything. But if the light is on, you press the button, then it vibrates. So if you're totally blind and you can't tell if the light's on or off, the button will tell you if you left it on or not. So pretty cool.
Good feature.
Yeah. And then there's another all-terrain cane coming out soon that there's a gentleman out in Arizona also, smart people coming out of Arizona apparently. And he lives in Sedona, Arizona. In fact, everybody just calls him Sedona Dave. He's an amazing guy. He has a company called A Werewolf. And so awerewolfgear.com is the name of his website. But he hikes a lot, and he was always a big hiker, and then he started losing his vision, and he didn't want to give that up. And so, but when he started using a traditional white cane, mobility cane, he was breaking them when he was trying to hike with them. They weren't sturdy enough. So he decided to create an all-terrain cane, which is basically a hybrid between a white cane and a hiking pole or hiking, whatever you would call those things. And so it's much stronger than a white cane, and heavier than a white cane, but much stronger and sturdier than a white cane. So it's going to be great for hiking and off-roading and stuff like that. So he's going to be sending me one soon. They are just about done with all of their prototyping and stuff, and coming out on the market soon. So he's going to send one of those to me as well. Of course, my favorite cane tip is the OmniSense tip, which is a rolling cane tip that has wheels that roll in any direction. Pretty cool. I got several videos about that. It's my favorite cane tip. It's the one that's on my main cane that I use just about every day. So it's really cool as well. So lots of interesting cane technology right now.
I have a question about canes. Kristen, she wants to know, a friend of hers is visually impaired and paralyzed on their left side, which makes folding up a cane very difficult. Do you know if there are any canes that magnetically fold up, or any canes that are hands-free to fold?
No, I don't. That's a very good question. That's a very unique case.
I think of a telescope cane.
That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, it would be hard to extend it though, and if you weren't able to use your other hand. Yeah. That would be the only thing I could think of as a telescopic cane.
Or just the NFB canes that are.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. A rigid cane. Yeah. People love rigid canes too. There's diehard rigid cane fans that they don't want a folding cane. So maybe that would be the way to go.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
You're welcome, Kristen. We have a question from Isabella.
So I actually have a comment. So I have an NFB cane and a fold-up cane. The reason why I have both is because sometimes I use the folding one for my daily driver, my NFB one for just daily travel indoor, because I don't like using it in the community because obviously NFB canes are very flimsy. So you got to kind of look out for that part when you're using a cane out in the community, because NFB canes can be very flimsy.
Yeah. They're very, the benefit is they're super lightweight and easy to kind of pack around. I've got a folding NFB cane. I think they're actually just called Chris Parks is the designer or something like that. But you're right. They're super lightweight, but they are kind of flimsy. And if you were a fast walking mobility cane user and that got caught in a crack or something, it might do some damage.
Or an escalator, say by any chance.
Yes. Yeah. That's funny.
Any other questions about canes or cane tips?
The WeWalk cane. Nobody's asked about the WeWalk cane.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Oh,
Isabella?
yeah. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Isabella.
so for an NFB cane, like what kind of cane tips, like what kind of cane tips would they actually use? Would it just be like the granite type tips, or can you get other like tips for it that you can use?
So I guess I don't know much about it. From what I understand, they only have the metal glide tips. At least that's the only tips I've ever seen on an NFB cane. That's the kind that's on mine. Those rigid canes, we have one of their rigid canes in the office, and it has the metal glide tip. I don't know if they are interchangeable or not.
Because I'm looking for one that's just plastic and not metal.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Thank you. I have another question from Kristen. She has tried using the Sunu band to help detect doors or other objects that my cane may miss. I found that when wearing the watch, it buzzed uncontrollably. Do you have any information on how to get around this?
No, unfortunately, yeah, that's kind of comes with the territory with Sunu, is that it will detect things, but if you're just kind of moving your arm around, it's gonna buzz on everything, and that's unfortunately the way it is with that. There is a way to you can do I think it's a double tap on your hip to put the watch to sleep so that it doesn't buzz. So if you're standing in a situation where you're just talking to friends or something, and you're not moving around, or sitting at a dinner table, you can put it to sleep so it's not just buzzing. And then when you get up to go to the bathroom, wake it up so that you can use it. But if it's awake, it's just buzzing all the time, and which makes it difficult because it makes it hard to identify the good buzzing, the buzzing that you want to have versus the buzzing that you don't want to have.
Yeah, it was very difficult. It would just buzz, and I tried it out in the supermarket, and as I was getting closer to, the cart or something in my way, there was no differentiation in buzzes. So I don't know if I was using it wrong or anything like that.
It definitely takes some practice to kind of get proficient in it. But I can tell you that each time I've used it, I ran into that problem too. It just like buzzing all the time. And it's like you have to kind of concentrate on what you're doing and all of that stuff. And I don't, generally when I'm evaluating something, I use it enough to kind of get an idea of it and all of that. I don't put all the time into something like that to get proficient. So, but yeah, I totally get what you're talking about.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions, or Sam, do we have any other topics to talk about, or are we going to call it an evening?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you about the WeWalk cane real quick. Just
Please.
basics if anybody isn't aware of it. So WeWalk is a smart cane, and came out a couple years ago, actually out of Israel, if I'm not mistaken. Smart people in Israel. And but it's essentially a handle, and that actually comes with an adapter that can really adapt any cane into the WeWalk smart cane. I mean, it comes with a cane and all of that, but you can also put it, if you have a favorite cane, you can put it on that as well. But it connects to your smartphone, and it uses haptic vibration, kind of like the Sunu band. It does turn-by-turn navigation through the app on the phone. The sound can come through the WeWalk handle itself. It's got a tiny little LED. I guess it really doesn't do much other than, I guess a little bit of increased visibility for people around you. And then it does, but I mean, that's honestly, that's about it. So it has some benefits as far as that's concerned. It's got some downsides. The speaker, at least on the model, the unit that I had, which was a couple years ago, wasn't very loud. And in fact, I tried it out in an urban setting downtown, and it was hard to hear the speaker over just general street noise. From what I remember, also, it's not waterproof, which was a big concern for me, because how many times have we been out walking in the rain with our canes, and so that was an issue. But the haptic vibration was, similar to Sunu. It's not as bad because you can control it more. It's not on your arm, just kind of swinging around wherever, pointing wherever. It's right there in front of you, pointing straight ahead of you. So it's a little bit more reliable when it comes to that. But the app is fantastic. I'm a big fan of the Sunu app. Although I think they recently made it a paid app, unless you have a Sunu, or excuse me, I'm sorry, WeWalk. Unless you have a WeWalk cane, you have to pay for the app, which is kind of a bummer. But yeah, it's kind of interesting technology as well.
Does it have a little ear device that could go into your, like a earbud?
No, I mean you can use your earbuds through your phone, and then the audio would come through the phone through the earbuds. But the cane itself doesn't have anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions or anything? Oh, 301A. I think that's Joanne. Joanne? Do you want to, there you go.
Yes. Hi. The WeWalk cane, that's a handle that fits on a cane?
Yeah, so if you were to buy it, I mean, it comes with a cane, but all the electronics and everything is in the handle. And the handle honestly reminds me of an old dustbuster. If you can remember the old dustbuster, imagine a dustbuster with a cane sticking out the bottom. But they also give you the handle is attached to the cane with this little metal adapter, and they also give you an extra adapter, so you can put that adapter on a different cane and then attach the handle onto that cane. Essentially, the adapter connects to the bungee on a cane, and you would take the handle, the grip off of your cane, and put on the WeWalk handle. So, go ahead.
Could that be used on a support cane?
That's a very good question. If the support cane had a bungee, the whole system relies on the bungee cord inside the cane. So if it had a bungee, then I guess technically you could. I don't know how much you would want to lean on the WeWalk handle. I don't know how supportive it would be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right now I have the support cane, so it's hard for me to get around without my other cane.
Mm-hmm.
So I was trying to figure out a safe way to use that.
You could definitely, there's several distributors around the country. I have a good friend named Barry up in Maryland at the Low Vision shop and just outside of Baltimore. He sells the WeWalk cane. So I'm sure you could give them a call and kind of give them more information about your cane and see if it would be possible.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions about canes or the WeWalk? Is it heavy? Like when you hold it? And if you're going a long distance, Sam, would it be very heavy on your wrist, your hand?
You would definitely feel it. I mean, eventually, yeah. I think you would get used to it as you built those muscles up, but it is kind of heavy. That is one thing that people, when they first try it, that's the first thing they say is like, "Oh, it's heavier than I expected." So yeah, because it's got a lot of electronics in that handle, so it does add some weight.
Any other questions? Aisha.
Yes, hi. I have a question, but it's going back to the the glasses that you spoke about, and I forget what exactly that technology is called. It's is it IRA, the one where you wear the glasses and it reads to you or tells you what you're looking at? It can tell you the signs. Yeah, Orcam. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all right.
So I had a question in it. When you're wearing them on your face, how heavy is that to wear? Like, is that a heavy weight to wear on your face, on your nose at the time that you're wearing it? Is it a certain recommended amount of time that they say you should wear it? Like, how does it affect you physically?
No, not at all. Are you able to see? Can you see me on? Are you able to see me at all?
I have retinal detachment from type 1 diabetes. And I have cataracts in both eyes.
Okay.
So I had the surgery, and with me, it always depends on what type of day it is and how bad the bleeding is in the back of the eye.
Right.
But I just went to my doctor, and she said the detachment is progressing.
Mm.
So like I'll see blotches, like I see certain things and then not parts of certain things, and it just gets very confusing.
Yeah, no, I understand. Like I said, I have central vision loss, so I totally get that, being able to see something and then not see it. So
yeah, and people are like, "What? I thought you couldn't see that," and I'm like, "I can't explain it."
well, if you want, I on my YouTube channel, if you go there, the video that automatically plays when you first go is how I see with Stargardt's macular degeneration. And so I made a video where I show how we see with well, for me, central vision loss, but how I can be looking at something and it can be completely disappeared. But if I kind of look away, all of a sudden there it is.
Yes. Yeah.
So it helps people understand how we see. So you could show them that video. But I'm wearing the Orcam right now. I'm wearing the Orcam My Eye, and there's this tiny little bracket that kind of looks like zip ties, and it just zip ties onto the side of whatever pair of glasses you want. And the Orcam is, like I said, it's only about the size of a lipstick container, even smaller than a lipstick container. And so it just magnetically sticks onto the side of the glasses. It weighs about the weight of a lipstick container. So it's super lightweight, and you don't feel it at all. I mean, there's a little bit of weight, but not much at all. So it's not uncomfortable. Even if you were going to wear this probably all day, that probably wouldn't be a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But like I said, kind of going along with that, the Reed, which I also have right here, is the Orcam Reed, is a handheld, and it's about the size of a thick black magic marker. I prefer the Reed because, well, number one, I don't wear glasses, and I love that the Reed, I can just put it in my pocket, I can pull it out, snap a picture, it'll read it to me, and then I can slide it back in my pocket, and it's just easier for me it's quicker, it's more convenient. So I like to read a little bit better myself.
Seems easier to use.
It is, yeah. And in my video, I did my video review for the Orcam Reed. I went downtown here where I live, and I just walked down the street by myself, and I could snap a picture at the sign, the sign above the store, and it would read it to me. And it was so nice. Like, I was genuinely in the video, I think you can tell, I was genuinely enjoying myself walking down a street downtown, and I could actually knowing what all these little shops were, and what they sold. And I've literally, not since I was 11 years old, have been able to do that by myself. And so there was a church, and I snapped a picture at the church sign, and it told me when service was and all that. It was great.
That's a good feeling. That's a lot of feeling of independence.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Feels
is.
good to have that time by yourself to do these things.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any questions or comments? Well, Sam, you really gave us a lot of information. We have another question. Go ahead, Isabella.
So with the OrCam, I forgot to mention, are you able to detect airport signs when you're using the OrCam read?
Yeah, so it will read any printed text. And some people even say, what about on a phone or a computer? Yeah, it reads any printed text. The problem you run into is, especially with signs, if you are very low vision, is being able to point it at the sign and know where the sign is in order to point it at it. That's the kind of the problem you will run into, but it will read those signs. Or in one of my videos, I took it to the grocery store, and grocery store aisles, they have the signs hanging above the aisle, which says, kind of gives a description of whatever stuff's on that aisle. I could point it up at that, and it took a picture and read it out loud to me. There was a street sign that was about 15 feet up a pole downtown when I was testing it, and I pointed it up at that and took a picture, and it read it out loud to me perfectly fine. So any printed text,
That's
as long as
a good distance, to capture a sign like that.
Yeah, well, even the church sign, I was on the sidewalk. The church sign was in the middle of their the grassy area in front of the church, and I didn't want to walk on their property, so I was on the sidewalk. And so that was about 20 feet away, and snapped a picture, and it read it. I took a picture across the street on a building, the side of a building across the street from me at one point, and it read it. So as long as it can see it, and as long as it's not like crazy fancy cursive and script writing, it does a pretty good job. Now, one thing else too, I'll actually mention about the OrCam is they have a new feature called Smart Reading. They also have voice commands, so I can say, hey OrCam, speed up, speed down, volume up, volume down, what time is it? It'll tell me the time. But they have the Smart Reading where I can say, hey OrCam, Smart Reading, and it will take a picture, and then it will wait for a voice command, and I will say, start read from beginning or something like that, and it will read from the beginning. Or which works really great for menus, if I say, start reading from quesadilla, then it will skip all the unimportant stuff and it will just read about the quesadillas for me. So it works really well on that. Or I could say read phone numbers, and it will only read the phone numbers, but it gives you the contextual information. So it will read the phone numbers, but it also read the information around the phone number. So it's pretty cool. But like I said, just like with anything, it takes some training. A lot of people get frustrated with it because, it just takes some practice to get used to it.
Sounds great. Stacy, you have a question. Stace?
Yeah, I'm here. It took me a second. Comment about I have RP, and it's like I see like a broken mirror. So there's some days I can trust it and see colors and stuff, and there's some days I can't tell what the heck the color even is. Don't even ask me. Details, don't ask. Like I can see someone's outline, but don't ask me details. I have RP. I also now have floaters. I was borderline glaucoma, but now I'm not. Don't ask me how the heck that happened. And I didn't even use medication. It was just, keep checking my ocular pressure. But I have a few issues with some of the, I'm going to call it a technical issue. Like some things like that talk, but then the buttons, I have no clue what the heck they are. until I press the button, like on a remote control. If it talks, like I'm in the hospital, the controller talks. It tells you, volume up 39, volume down 39. But it's like my sister showed me what buttons were what, but they're not marked unless they're color marked. I know the nurse button is color red, and it's also had a braille N on it. And then she also put a lock dot on top of the N. But the rest of them, I accidentally turned the lights off before.
Right.
I am visually impaired. I'm like, I can't. Usually I'll have, like, if someone comes in, like the nurse, can you turn the lights off? Because I can see lights, I can see dark, I can see better outside lights versus fluorescent lights. Fluorescent lights give me a headache. I can sometimes see TV screens, especially like bigger. My vision is broken. So
Stacey, you're starting to cut out a little bit.
Okay, is it maybe the way I'm sitting?
I don't know. Did you get your question in there?
Just that I get frustrated with some adaptive things, and sometimes it's just simply just turning it off, turning it back on. Because I have an iPad, a regular iPad with the home button, and I think I have IO 15 something. And I mean, it works pretty well, but what annoyed me was when they updated Bard recently, where it had like the website to search or stuff. Now it just says search.
I think you know what I think is really hard, Stacey? I think it's really difficult when you have the technology moves so fast. And if you don't do it often, by the time you do go to use it, it
like
updates or it changes or something. So that's what technology is.
Yeah.
Always changing, always evolving, always trying to get better.
Well, yeah, I have a mobility cane when I actually use it with the walker, it's extra long. And I do have a roller tip for it, but I never put it on. But I sometimes use it with the walker. Most of the time I just have someone sighted grab the front of it to guide me. Door sills are the worst. The other day I was going to my mom's room to call my sister back. I ran right into the cellar door. If I would have had my hand out, I would have known the door was open. I'm like,
well, you keep using that sixth sense, Stacey. Use those senses. I have it. Thanks, Stace. I have another question about OrCam, Sam. Is there any way someone would like to know if there's any way that you can rent or try out the OrCam before purchasing? Do you know of any way?
Yeah, so some distributors, because you can go either through OrCam's website to make the purchase, but you can also go through regional distributors. And some of them will offer things like that, a test period, a trial period. Some of them, if you find one near you, will even come to your home and do a demonstration for you. If you live in an area that has like a low vision center, where I work, we have an OrCam, and anybody's welcome to come in, and I'm happy to sit down and let them try it out. There are, there are possibilities. I don't think OrCam themselves have just like a blanket, 2-week trial period. Maybe they do. I'm not sure for certain, but some of the distributors are much more lenient when it comes to that kind of thing. But I'm very much on board with that. I'm very much like, try it before you buy it. These things are so expensive. And you don't want to get something and then realize that you're just not using it like you thought you would, or it just doesn't work for you. I tell everybody, try it as many times as you can. If you go somewhere for a demonstration, like very first time I tried eSights, I traveled to Tennessee and did a demonstration at a hotel. Or if you go to a convention and you're testing one of these things at a booth, I tell people, take it outside, take it out of the convention hall or take it out of the hotel room where it's nice and bright, go into one of the hallways where it's kind of dark, test it out there. Take a magazine, take a crossword puzzle, whatever you're thinking you want to use this device for, take with you so you can try it out. Just try it out in as many different situations as possible, just to be sure.
Good advice.
Yeah.
Well, I think, Sam, we've taken up a lot of your time. I really thank you so much for all of this great information. Everybody stay tuned and view Sam's The Blind Life. You could really get a lot of information on all of his YouTube videos. They're really wonderful. And thank you for all that you shared with all the technology. I don't know if I look forward to the future with all of this stuff.
Robot guide dogs?
Sure about robot dogs. I don't know. I don't know
Taking
about
over.
that. That's right. There are some scary movies about that.
Right.
But really, Sam, thank you so much for your time, for being with us. We really appreciate it. And your information is wonderful. And I want to just say, on behalf of the entire staff at Vision Loss Alliance, we wish all of you warm winter wishes for your holiday season, a very happy and healthy new year. And to learn more about programs or any questions you may have, please call Elsa or I 973-627-0055. And I want to remind us all that January 25th, we will have Rebecca Rosenberg. She's going to be sharing her an app that she created. So that will be our 2023 first Tech Talk. And Sam, thank you for being on our last Tech Talk of the year.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. It was a lot of fun.
We're very
Thanks for
grateful
being
to you.
with us.
Thank you.
Everyone, enjoy the holidays. Stay safe, stay well. Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2023.
Happy holidays,
Happy
everyone.
holidays.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. Happy
Good
holidays.
Bye.
Good
Good
night.
night, everyone. Thanks again, Sam.